Good morning, 8th grade. So today we're going to be focusing on text structure, and we're going to be using our flowers for Algernon text. So this is from Progress Report 11. It's the last part of the Progress Report, starting at the April 27th entry. While I'm reading today, I want us to be annotating for things we noticed about text structure. And if you look at your packet, there are some explanations of text structure. Or some examples of text structure here, like cause and effect and compare and contrast. But we want to keep in mind the other text structures that we know of, and also how an author presenter develops a text. So these aspects of Flowers for Algernon: what's our point of view? Are these some of the tools that our author is using? Descriptions, addressing the reader, diary format, inner dialogue. So while we're reading, we're going to be annotating for those. April 27th. I got up the nerve today to ask Miss Kinnian to have dinner with me tomorrow night to celebrate my bonus. At first, she wasn't sure it was right, but I asked Dr. Strauss, and he said it was okay. Dr. Strauss and Dr. Manure don't seem to be getting along so well. They're arguing all the time. This evening, when I came in to ask Dr. Strauss about having dinner with Miss Kinnian, I heard them shouting. I'm going to underline just the date, showing that this is a diary format. These are his progress reports or his diary entries. Also, whenever you have a diary, it's almost all inner dialogue because you're getting this from his point of view. You also obviously have this I, which shows that we're in first person. Dr. Namur was saying that it was his experiment and his research, and Dr. Strauss was shouting back that he contributed just as much, because he found me through Miss Kinnian, and he performed the operation. Dr. Strauss said that someday thousands of neurosurgeons might be using his technique all over the world. Dr. Namur wanted to publish the results of the experiment at the end of this month. Dr. Strauss wanted to wait a while longer to be sure. Dr. Strauss said that Dr. Namur was more interested in the chair of psychology at Princeton than he was in the experiment. Dr. Namur said that Dr. Strauss was nothing but an opportunist who was trying to ride to glory on his coattails. When I left afterwards, I found myself trembling. I'm going to underline this. It's a description of how he's feeling or his physical reaction to this argument. I don't know why for sure, but it was as if I'd seen both men clearly for the first time. I remember hearing Bert say that Dr. Namur had a shrew of a wife who was pushing him all the time to get things published so that he could become famous. Bert said that the dream of her life was to have a big-shot husband. Was Dr. Strauss really trying to ride on his coattails? April 28th. I don't understand why I never noticed how beautiful Miss Kinnian really is. She has brown eyes and feathery brown hair that comes to the top of her neck. She's only 34. I think from the beginning I had the feeling that she was an unreachable genius and very, very old. Now, every time I see her, she grows younger and more lovely. I'm going to underline this because this is sort of that compare and contrast of Charlie, where he used to be thinking that Miss Kinnian was unreachable and a genius, to now him seeing that she's really close to his age and really beautiful. We had dinner and a long talk. When she said I was coming along so fast that soon I'd be leaving her behind, I laughed. It's true, Charlie. You're already a better reader than I am. You can read a whole page at a glance, while I can take in only a few lines at a time, and you remember every single thing you read. I'm lucky if I can recall the main thoughts and the general meaning. I don't feel intelligent. There are so many things I don't understand. She took out a cigarette and I lit it for her. You've got to be a little patient. You're accomplishing in days and weeks what it takes normal people to do in half a lifetime. That's what makes it so amazing. You're like a giant sponge now, soaking things in, facts, figures, general knowledge, and soon you'll be able to connect them too. You'll see how the different branches of learning are related. There are many levels, Charlie, like steps on a giant ladder that take you up higher and higher to see more and more of the world around you. I'm going to underline this. because again, this is kind of showing where Charlie is now compared to where he was before. I can only see a little bit of that, Charlie, and I won't go much higher than I am now. But you'll keep climbing up and see more and more, and each step will open new worlds that you never even knew existed. She frowned. I just hope to God. What? Sorry, I'm yawning a lot today. Never mind, Charles. I just hope I wasn't wrong to advise you to go into this in the first place. I laughed. How could that be? It worked, didn't it? Even Algernon is still smart. We sat there silently for a while, and I knew what she was thinking about as she watched me toying with the chain of my rabbit's foot and my keys. I didn't want to think of that possibility any more than elderly want to think of death. I knew that this was only the beginning. I knew what she meant about levels, because I'd seen some of them already. The thought of leaving her behind made me sad. I'm in love with Miss Kinnian. I'm going to underline this. I knew what she was thinking about, because this is a really good example of how Charlie's changed. He never used to know what other people were thinking about or understand their thoughts or their feelings at all. If you think back to how he was sort of made fun of by his friends, he didn't know what they were really doing, and now he's actually able to look at people and understand what they're thinking without them saying anything. And obviously this last line, I'm in love with Miss Kinnian, is a huge change for Charlie. I don't know that before that was something that he would have been aware of or capable. So our big idea is, how does text genre shape our experience as readers and or our understanding of an author's purpose? Genre is like fiction or nonfiction, or the type of text that we're reading. We're going to be looking at both Flowers for Algernon and Phineas Gage for this. But first, I want us to talk about some of our text structures that we already know. So our first one is cause and effect, which is what happens and why. So the cause is what happens and the why is the effect that it has. Then there's obviously compare and contrast, where you show similarities and differences. I'm going to add chronological, which is the order in which events occur. Over in your notes, I want you to add at least one, if not two, other text structures that we've studied. We also want to consider how an author presents or develops a text. So things like point of view, first person, third, and third has limited and omniscient. Eyewitness accounts are when somebody who was there tells about an event or a story. So we think of those at the news. When there's something happening in the news, they might interview people. It's an eyewitness account if they saw the crime or they saw the fire or they saw whatever it is that happened. Descriptions. I'm not even going to fill that. Describing, when we get details. Directly addressing the reader is when the author or the character talks to the reader. We can think about Phineas Gage yesterday when our author was asking us, do you think Phineas Gage was lucky or unlucky? A diary format, which is what we have sort of with Charlie, is they're called progress reports, but essentially they're diary entries. Inner dialogue, which is thoughts and feelings, or the conversation inside of a character's head. Expert opinions, that's usually with nonfiction, which is when you get the quotes or opinions or thoughts of someone who knows a lot about that topic, who's an expert on it. Historical facts are going to be, background information about whatever it is. And then text features, things like pictures, graphs, charts, that help you understand the text. So you can go ahead and start with how is information presented in Phineas Gage until you're called up to the front or until class is over. Good luck.